tools that they give you in therapy, like watching breathing.
Earlier this evening.
Okay, let's just talk about it. You don't see that. It's a tunnel. There's no one there. I can give you tips. Like I did make a list of things that helps, like grounding, doing yoga. But when you're really having a panic attack,
up my nose.
you
Lovely.
will, I believe you're going to die. Right? I called 911. Right? So it's like those tips are cool, but to me, they're still band-aid. A colonic is a band-aid. You hear me?
And
it's a good band-aid. The supplements are natural, right? But like you said in your quote. Right, so you still got to address that trauma. So those little things are cool, earthing, whatever, essential oils. I'm down with all of that. Acupuncture, whatever you got. Juicing. I had a naturopath tell me, you can take activated charcoal for emotional plans. I didn't even know that. She said, you want to do something else? You can take charcoal for that. I said, well, all right then. Right? Well, shoot, like, bring all of it. But those are still band-aids for the symptoms, right? That's your immediate, like, okay, what can I do to feel better now? We still want to address that underlying trauma, right? There's multiple specific events. That's what a trauma is. It's an event,
that's
right?
And then,
yeah.
It's like, so I just want to expand on that.
Please.
So trauma is not trauma. It can be an acute incident that happens to you. It could be something that happens repetitively.
But your whole life, like microaggressions.
Yeah.
Yes.
All
Definitely
of it,
want to get that. Yeah.
But really, trauma is what happens inside of your body as a consequence to the event.
Oh, yes.
So that's what happens. So something traumatic happens, and something inside of you, it's like my central nervous system is overwhelmed.
Exactly.
I can't function. Something is happening in my environment that I can't function.
Yes.
And then we adapt. And so trauma gets stored in the body, and we as spiritual beings want to thrive, want to function. So we take that trauma, we encapsulate it, and we store it somewhere in the body, and we're like, we're good. It happened, it's done, I'm not thinking about it, we move on. And eventually it catches up with us. And it's usually when our bodies cannot hold it anymore. And if we consume trauma on a daily basis, whether it's in our thoughts and our communications in our food, now we're like, okay, I've already got this trauma that I've been carrying since my childhood. And now we got all this trauma that I'm consuming, and we overwhelm and we get sick. So, to me, the step forward is why I don't do therapy. And I was starting to go to school to do therapy, and I was like, yeah, that's not the way. Because I agree with you. It's like when we're talking, it's just like we're like soothing the trauma. Like, you're good, you're okay. We're just talking. Just go back to sleep. We're fine. And it's like cutting the ravenous, coochie down when it's like. The pooch is like, listen, I'm hurt.
Right.
I'm hurt.
Right. Yeah,
I'm hurt. I'm afraid. I want to be heard. So it's not going back. We're not going back into our past and taking resonance. We're going back to find the clues that are being activated in this moment. Yes. Something in my environment is saying, you know that you don't want to think about? It's here in this moment. And we're like, no, I can't. Right. Or I don't know how. So these tools, like you were saying, are band-aids, are to reinforce us so that we can do the work. And we can face those, and we can do that heroine's, that hero's journey. We can face the dark night of the soul. We can confront it and say, I'm not afraid of you. You just want to be loved. You want to be understood. You want to be seen. You want to be expressed. How can I love on you? And that's when we rebuild those relationships and bring those pieces back home. And that's the healing journey. And that's how we process it and we work it through. And there's way a lot of modalities to that. You can always reach out, we can discuss it.
Yes.
But this is a whole topic just in its own.
Totally. And it's just practice, right? Like the reps. It's like that's why it's challenging. But like I feel like I'm 37. I'm like, when am I gonna be okay? I've been doing therapy for a long time now,
I'm 50 years old. I'm 50 years old.
It's like we're still working through stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, we're still working through it. I'm like,
So
yeah.
until we start recognizing that and healing our own, we can't hold space for someone else's trauma without judging them and saying, look what you did to me. We have to be compassionate. Wow, you're sad. You're depressed. Just let me put up a boundary so that you don't infect me anymore. Right. I'm still working on my own stuff. I don't have enough to hold your stuff.
Dr. Ben, what are you going to say about trauma and the nervous system?
I think y'all covered pretty good.
Okay. I just wanted to reintroduce, since we're now live on YouTube, that we are doing a Blue Zones panel discussion. We're physically located at Giving Tree Café. Actually, David, the owner, is right over here supporting our panel. Now, the whole conversation is about lifestyle and environment, how we can make a difference in our own lives and be healthier. the whole point of this panel discussion is it's a kickoff for the Autumn Integrative Wellness Expo and Conference. So if you've been following my YouTube, you know what I'm up to. If you haven't been following my YouTube, then I suggest you do because I have so much to share with you. Okay, so our next question, we're talking about outlook. So having purpose. In a recent study from Canada that followed 6,000 people for 14 years, they found that those people could articulate their sense of purpose, and they had a 15% lower risk of dying and living 7 years longer. So the question is, how do you feel that having a sense of purpose supports a healthy life?
Ooh, I'm a spiritualist. You want me to go? Yeah. I have to say that finding my purpose was literally what saved my life. Getting through my trauma was understanding my why. And one of my teachers said that we're all question marks in search of our answers. And to me, we roam the earth. What is our question? Is not what my purpose is, that's the way it comes out, but really is, what is the purpose of me being here? And we receive those messages through life that was like, you really don't have a purpose, but to be a functioning member of society and contribute. Right. And, you know, and really like we gaslight ourselves into thinking that that's who we are. And we're miserable. We're miserable because we're not happy. Why? It's because I know deep down inside I was born to do something else. I'm born to make an impact in the world. I'm here to contribute. I'm intentional. You know what, whatever your belief system is, God, the universe, the divine, you know, I'm a sacred entity and I came to live this life in purpose and I have a reason for being here. And for me, when I discovered my purpose, that's every day, all that energy and that charge inside of me is to say like, no, I was born to do something. I am important. What I have to say does matter. I can affect people. I'm supposed to contribute beauty. I'm supposed to be here. And that when we get that affirmation, that reflection from the world that, yeah, you're supposed to be here. Yeah, we appreciate you. Yeah, you're magical. Yeah, you have something to offer this life. That is what gives you that vitality instead of just being this drone of just emotion. We're not robots. We're here. Like everybody's intentional. When you discover what that is, I tell you, it's life changing. And I'm serious, it keeps me young. Yeah. As stressful as it is, stressful, but imagining doing anything else, it's just, yeah, it's not an option.
Well, like you said with the stress, though, like she was saying earlier, though, right? To bring it all together, that the stress and even the trauma, right? The stress is a response, right? I just said it wrong, right? The trauma is your response to the event, right? It doesn't matter the event. You could be running from a lion or reading your email or looking at your phone or living the life that you like. It's when I go to work, I'm a boss. Like, you know what I mean? Like my therapist is a naturopath. She's really, you know, like what's filling your cup. It's like all of these things, like he was saying, like, I love to sing, like comedy, like there's multifacets. So like filling all of your cup, right? All of those things are your purpose, right? Like you have this purpose of like, you know what I mean? Sharing. And we really want to connect with humans. Right? If you go to prison, what's punishment? What's punishment? They isolate you. That makes you go crazy. Babies die if they're not touched in the first couple weeks. Is it 2 weeks, right? They die. What? You know what I found a good doctor when my naturopath said you need this many hugs a day because it releases oxytocin, dog. This ain't hippy dippy stuff. This is science. Telling you go hug the trees. There's science behind that. You feel me? Yes. So your purpose, it's so, you know what I mean? It's all of those things, right? But it's like, yeah, I go to work. I'm putting out fires. There's a leak. You know, there's a poop clog. We're out of pads. You know, that's high stress. I'm still living. I still love what I do, but it's high stress, right? So it's finding your purpose, being okay, pre-plotting, like she was saying, right? How do you pre-plot your day? Look, I heard this, what was it? I think it was a comedian, or I don't know if it was on a lecture or what, but they were saying they think of their day, they budget their energy. It was like energy tickets or dollars or whatever. And they're like, okay, I'm going to spend this much energy here. I have a lecture or whatever. Maybe I'm doing stand-up tonight. I have this, right? And I'm going to have some clients. And then so-and-so wants to do this at this time. Like, dang, I'm not going to have the energy for that, right? So like pre-plotting your day, right? But yeah, finding your purpose in all of that, right? pre-plotting your day. I love that, and like planning for the normal stresses that are in your day. But like, what do you love to do?
I also think that purpose is something that each of us should be in a quest for.
Yes.
Because like to me, I'm a physician, and I thought that I've arrived. You know that arrival fallacy.
Yeah.
Until I got sick. You know, I got not really sick to put me down, but started getting the chronic diseases.
Wow.
My husband is also a physician, and he's got 6 lists of chronic diseases, and I started on medication, and that was when we were 37 years old.
Wow.
Both primary care, sitting there in the clinic,
Wow.
and already having these issues, and we shook our head. It's like, what's going on?
Wow.
Clearly, we are tracking the same path that our patients are. Good for them. They're 60, 70, 80 years old, right? Okay, that's excusable. But a 37-year-old starting on a diabetes medication, on gout, that doesn't make sense. So for us, we were like thrown, like if we're thrown in a dark hole. Like suddenly we got so confused. Suddenly we felt like uneducated.
Wow.
But that I think was not, although it was kind of frustration and anger and desperation, but looking back, I think that was meant to happen.
Of course.
To find my purpose.
That was your catalyst.
So yeah, it was my
Change.
catalyst. And because I didn't settle for, okay, well, this is my fate. You know, maybe I'm just I really have that gene to get sick this early. I didn't believe in that. I didn't take that. I kind of like try to resist that tendency. For most people, that's how we kind of like really just think through, okay, because that's more comfortable to, you know, not fight against your inner call. But for me, it was like finding why is this happening? And believing that there is an answer out there. And I did find my answer, which set me in this path. And when we reversed our diseases, I kind of have that spiritual talk too, like say, I have read the evidence, right? It makes sense to me from my medical background, like, well, this is the missing piece. Now, what can I do from here? Right? It's not just taking the claim of like, oh, I'm good, I fixed my problem, I fixed my husband's problem, my family is safe. I think putting that, trying to create something from that experience and say, I am made for more. You know, I am made for more, I can do more. And this probably my purpose may not be the end purpose, but it's just the beginning of my journey. So from that on, I say, you know, my purpose, from that micro purpose of reversing my own diseases, my family is safe. I try to think of it as like, no, my next purpose will be to get out from my family, extend that from my family. And so start reaching out from my relatives and friends. And then when I feel like I've done that, then I'm going to extend further, expand my purpose outside of my backyard, so to speak. So I'm going to reach out for people. And if they listen, it's good. If they don't, maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe they were like me before, a decade ago, but time will come that that this purpose will become their purpose too. I think that and I didn't change career. At first I was kind of like really
so grateful.
I feel like at first I feel like, oh, was I scammed? I truly like, was I scammed? This was not emphasized in medical school and in training, and I've not remembered us doing our rounds in the hospital talking about, why did this person get a stroke? Why did this person get a heart attack? We all talk about what's the diagnostic test we can do as fast as we can, and what are we going to give, and what are the new medications out there, and who should we call out for? We never talked about food at all. We never asked the patient how stressed she was, right? So I feel like, okay, I was about to go that route, but then, from heavenly power, like cut me through, like, no, No, you gotta go through this dark so you can see the light.
Dark night of the soul, yes.
Yeah, and I feel like, you guys, for you just gotta say, if you don't know your purpose yet, you've gotta, I think it's about talking through looking at your history, like going back into how am I traveling in this world? As I journey in this world, what are these significant events that have happened in my life? Because those are probably the cues, For me, it was a cue. For me, I learned to not say I was scammed. I learned to say, you know what, I have to go through the medical training. I have to go through, 6 years of primary care for me to see what I can reinvent. Now that I know how that works in that field, now I can connect better. You can connect better with people who wants to, you know
what they're going through. You've seen it.
Yes. You have to go through. I believe that you find your purpose when you've actually gone through that journey. And you are a step farther from that person. So the best way to take a look at it is like, who am I before and who am I now? And then you go find those people who were once like you before. Probably that's your purpose.
That's that's everyone sitting up here. That's every holistic practitioner I know.
Oh, absolutely.
You have your own story.
It always starts with either a crash, a heartbreak, a disappointment.
All of it.
Or something affects you deep in your soul that makes you just question everything. And we're all just our stories.
Your message becomes your message.
Oh, I love it. Did you write that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, man, that's a good one. Copyright.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, I think it's like a conversation we can all have up here, but I know that for the first 30 years of my life, I didn't know my purpose. I felt very freaking lost.
Oh my God.
So I think that, to anybody who's listening, it's like, oh, hey, that's well and good. Y'all are like these holistic practitioners, helping people, and I had no purpose. It can get a little resentful. And I knew I was like that for a long time. So I would just say, like, if you haven't figured it out yet, don't give up on it, and just realize that sometimes like your biggest struggle is what's actually your message, like what you've been through that can help other people is often your purpose.
Yeah. Amen. And I help people find that. That's one of the things I do as a coach is like, find your purpose. It really is. You're a wounded healer. You're a wounded warrior. What is that wound? And how do you take that medicine and bring it out into the world? And one of my favorite teachers is Malidoma Somé. And he always says that our ancestors placed us right in the perfect situation to share our medicine. So if we discovered the medicine and we helped heal ourselves, how do we go out into the world and share that and mitigate suffering for others? And that's kind of where you find your purpose.
Beautiful. Yeah, we went deep. Okay. Now we're going to dive into the diet. Now, I know y'all are passionate about food here, but the first concept that actually came from the Blue Zones is wine at 5. Moderate amounts of alcohol, most commonly it's 2 glasses a day, are consumed in the Blue Zones. What are the benefits of drinking wine? And are there cons to drinking wine?
Go for it. You got an opinion? Because I'll be like,
Oh, that's a typical question I get, and diet is one thing, but then somebody will raise his hand like, what do you think about alcohol? It's like, okay, first of all, I don't drink. So, and the reason for that is not because I have a personal bias towards against alcohol. But to tell you honestly, I've probably just drank once, but it triggered. I associate that with a very bad hyperacidity. After that, basically to cut the story short, I'm very sensitive to alcohol. My gut is right, and there are many other factors too, but one thing is alcohol. So it triggers a very bad hypergasiness. I'll be in an agonizing discomfort and pain for a couple of days. So for me, it's this may not be true to everyone.
Is it all types of alcohol?
Not necessarily, but for me, the alcohol is something that I personally don't do because of that. And number two is also diving deep into what can I get from alcohol. Like if most people will say I drink because it makes me feel better after a hard, day's work, right? Well, I don't feel that way, right? Because if I'm addressing my stress level from 9, I'm able to bring it down to 3, and I don't need alcohol. Right? I mean, that's what kind of how I work my mind into.
Yeah.
And so I ask others, so why do you drink alcohol? Well, socialization, right? When I'm around with friends, the topic or the talk just gets so rich when there's an alcohol. Like, okay, fine. Well, I then look at myself like, okay, well, I can command a discussion and get everyone hyped up with the content of the topic, but I don't necessarily have to have that, right? If it's the necessity of I need to have that to get myself from here to there, then don't stop there. You gotta ask so why am I here in the first place, right? Because I bet that's not the only time you're gonna be here, right? In 24 hours, you're gonna be here several times, right? So if you go for alcohol as your rescue, as your pacifier.
Yep, exactly.
That's what they say. Like babies are not the only ones with pacifiers. We adults kind of. I mean, that's my no offense, those three. You gotta ask yourself. And when I ask my patients back, so why do you drink? Why do you go not even think about it? It's just automatic, right? You reach out for something. Why are you? What's your emotional state? What's your psychological state? Or are you getting a drink for a celebration, right? Oh yeah, okay, then fine, good. But is that the only way to celebrate success, right? So going into the adverse effects of alcohol, that's kind of difficult to say because people have different ability, biochemically, physiologically, to tolerate the effects, right? So a person, my dad, for example, would say well, he's been drinking all his life and he's never had this problem that I have. So why do I care to stop alcohol? I mean, this guy, is enjoying. So we all have different makeup.
But you might not know. We say that a lot. He very well might have the same issues and you have no idea. I strongly doubt it's not affecting his microbiome, right? There's data on that, you know what I mean? So you're right, people have different body chemistries, but the fact is, it's a toxin.
Exactly.
You know what? We know it's a toxin.
So I tell my patients, to answer that question, I need to ask you, how ambitious are you to not just reverse this current disease that you have, but also to prevent the other diseases? Because if you say, I want to prevent you, then we have another point to discuss, right? So these are then I can tell you what are the diseases that can make you susceptible to it. Because if I do give you a list right away, and in your mind you're not thinking in that line of prevention, then everything I give you, maybe this is this thick of resources, will not gonna get into you.
Yeah. So, definitely. I mean, the best thing I heard, this was on an interview, some online health summit I was listening to, but they were saying look, what does a nurse swab your arm with to kill all the bacteria? Alcohol. Alcohol kills bacteria. Period. I was in the food service industry for 17 years. I've taken the alcohol education classes. It's a toxin. They talk about it right there. We're it's a poison. You could die if you take too much. You could die. You could die if you drink too much alcohol. Will a little bit kill you? Probably not. But I think it's safe to say if there's anything you do too much, and it could kill you. I can't eat too many carrots and die. You know what I'm saying? I'll get full or poof a bunch before that would happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's not healthy. So
again, if you want to do it once in a while, cool, but don't try to justify it because they're doing it in the blue zone.
If you can't do it because it'll harm your fetus when you're pregnant,
Hey,
but you think,
that is probably not healthy. Hey, fish is okay, except when you're pregnant. Just kidding. It always has mercury in it. Yeah. All the time. Not just when you're pregnant. Right now, even not eating it, it has mercury in it right now. That's a good one. The pregnancy, it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
I mean, I think that people like to rationalize. Okay, wine is made from grapes,
Yeah.
so it's got this vitamin, and
Resveratrol.
all these things. Well, like so,
Resveratrol.
I ate grapes for breakfast today. I wasn't like, oh, I'm getting my resveratrol, you know. So it's easy to what I call like the big fallacy, the but it's got, right? Like, oh yeah, it's got alcohol, which is a protoplasmic poison, which kills any living thing that comes in contact with it. But it's also got vitamin C and resveratrol. So yay, right?
It has protein and iron.
And so the day is pretty clear. Like, okay, one drink a day is good for you, like for heart health, if you're eating a standard American diet. But your heart health would be a lot better if you ate a plant-based diet.
Right.
But any drinks a day is bad for brain health. That data is pretty clear.
Yep.
So it's easy to say like, oh, it can affect this one thing, or it's, forget about that because it's got these other things. Like if you look at the big picture, like it's like big picture holistically, it's a net drain on your health.
Right. Yeah, it's a notch. Yeah.
Food, today's food and beverage, simplify things. You gotta ask yourself, am I looking at the food that's going to feed a disease? Or am I looking at a food that's going to help me heal from my disease?
Yep.
I think that's just, just black and white for me. Well, what's kind of the problem is we complicate things so much, so that the more complex it is, the more a little bit of something we can get from it, because people love to hear stories about. People love to hear stories or reason about the negative habit that they want to continue.
Oh yeah.
So,
that's why I love paleo. Yeah, I love paleo keto.
Bacon is superfood.
Bacon and cheese.
Do you have any thoughts on
Healthy.
wine? Do you want to participate in this?
Remind everyone it's a 2-drink minimum. Some of you aren't really caught up yet. I don't think there's a lot I can add there. I think they're all very succinct and that said it very, very well. The only time I've ever seen alcohol used as a medicine, it's a toxin area, but it's also a medicine. So when is it a medicine? It's when somebody's on like a standard American diet and they need to calm down and relieve stress. There's so many other ways that we can relieve stress through breath and yoga and other things that the people that are listening to this don't need to stress.
Listen, I just want to say, I'm really big on like I want to meet everyone where they're at, right? So it's like, if you already don't drink, I'm not telling you to go drink, right? But like, if you do, I don't want you to feel like ashamed and bad and like, oh my God, I can never do it again, right? Because that probably won't work. That life of restriction and saying, I'm never going to do it again. I have seen it fails, right? You have to over-educate yourself with people and coaches like us on this panel. And I'm not saying that to plug us. I mean it, really. I did it by myself. I fell flat on my face many, many times. So like, we are going to make sure you don't make the mistakes that we did. We're going to over-educate you. She has a whole plan on pre-plotting your stress throughout the day. I mean, that's amazing. This one's going to help you address your own purpose, right? Which is super important. We talk about in the blue zones, right? This guy's going to over-educate you on raw food, right? I'm going to help you make sure, that all these changes are practical and simple and easy in your life. That's what I want. What's the easiest thing you could do? The easiest thing I start with are swaps. That's what I start with. I try not to tell people like take everything out, right? Oh, don't worry. They will, but they won't know, right? they don't know, right? If I'm doing it right, if I'm doing a good job. But if a lot of places carry organic wine nowadays. You can get organic plant-based wine, and evaluate how you feel after, and there's things that you can do. So like if you are going to drink, again, if you're not, great. But if you are, take extra probiotics. You should already be just taking double, triple your probiotics because you're killing some off, okay? There is data on that, taking probiotics with antibiotics. There's data that shows that mitigates the negative effects, right? Take a binder. I didn't even drink last night, but I was out late. I took activated charcoal last night and this morning. a couple tablespoons of it. And it makes a big difference because my organs didn't get a chance to fully repair throughout the night because I didn't get enough sleep, right? So it helps my energy tremendously. But it's like there's little things you can do to kind of mitigate it. Hard booch is my favorite. Hard organic booch. They're like, it's kombucha, it's got bacteria. And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't tested it. I haven't seen the data on that. It's still alcoholic. So I'm going to guess it's probably killing your bacteria, right? So, but if I just feel like if you're going to drink, that's like the healthiest thing that I've seen on the market today in 2022 is like, they have hard booch, all these hard booch brands. It's kombucha, it just ferments it longer. I'm like, that won't mess up my stomach, but you know what I'm saying? Like, all these other ones like yeast and GMO and sugar. So again, not telling you to drink, not, but that's a swap. You could start there at least, swap it out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Okay, our next question's about plant-based nutrition. I know how all of you feel about this one. So, one of the tenets of the Blue Zones is being plant strong. A meta-analysis by Buettner said 154 dietary surveys in all 5 of the Blue Zone regions found that 95% of 100-year-olds ate a plant-based diet, including plenty of beans and carbohydrates from whole grains and sourdough breads. They avoid leavening. So the question is, for the doctors on this panel, we'll go first and foremost, why is plant-based nutrition important for the health and well-being of our bodies? Well, no, we can all talk.
I think that we can start by looking at the statistics. I mean, that's the reason why we have to label the diagnosis correctly so that we get the data in. If you look at the, if you look at the data, in the top 10 leading causes of death, heart disease is the first, and then cancer is the second. These are chronic diseases. If you go top 10, 7 out of 10 are chronic diseases. Chronic meaning that disease has lasted for long, maybe I'll give it a year or more, that requires, medical attention, or is affecting your daily function. So when these chronic diseases are kind of investigated, we're seeing that the root cause of these chronic diseases are about the same. It doesn't matter if it's heart disease, stroke, COPD, diabetes, hypertension. The WHO says 80% of these chronic diseases can be prevented. Prevention. And what's getting more exciting is that we're seeing, and I am seeing, reversal of chronic disease that I haven't, I've not heard that word reversal. I've not heard that in medical school or in training or, in my early practice. So why plant-based? Is because if we're looking at the statistics now, and then we're looking at the data then from this Blue Zone, it's so easy to connect the dots, right? What they're finding from the centenarians are not, they're not just aging, but they're aging with high functions. And the diet is predominantly plant-based, right? So if we have this problem of chronic diseases and the centenarians, I was listening to one documentary where they got the blood tests from a sample, 101-year-old. They were so amazed looking at the cholesterol
The markers,
levels, the markers and everything. It looked like, if you don't know the profile, it looked like the blood of a young
20-something-year-old,
right? That's ready to donate blood.
Wow.
To somebody. And what's amazing is that, the blood pressure kind of like goes up a little bit, but that's expected because the artery kind of stiffens as we age. But what they were so surprised is that there were no signs of plaque or atherosclerosis in their arteries. So the high blood pressure is from the stiffening only, which is natural with age, but the clogging of the lining inside the artery aren't there. So if we're to say, okay, what's the number one killer disease in America? Heart disease. Well, this is in centenarians don't have those heart disease, right? So what are they doing? So we have to copy, not just copy because for the sake of, right? We need to copy because we have the data.
Yeah.
We have the data to support it. And if we look at our lifestyle now compared to the centenarians, oh, we're way, way different.
Mm-hmm.
Way different. And there is this term anthropogens, which means man-made environment. And I think that we are in a man-made environment in this day and age, where man-made environment is, with it comes a change, a dramatic change in the lifestyle, in the eating habits of people, right? In the way they kind of pamper or pacify their stress, right? That our ways are way much different from this centenarians.
Yeah.
And if I were to say, okay, we have this, activity, stress management, sleep, blah, blah, blah. But for me, 80% would come from the diet first, because everything else will not
align.
Will not start the gear rolling. The diet has to come first. And I, for one, became plant-based, not because I didn't start from, loving the environment or the animals.
You were sick.
I start with my health.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense for me to be spending an hour in the mall choosing for the best dress for the party that I'll just go for an hour or two. And if I don't like it, I can take it off. But then I don't have time to prepare my food, which if it gets in my body, I cannot get rid of it, right? Because it's already in there.
That's deep.
So
say that again. Say that again. Say it again.
I'm gonna have to. I
Say
have to
it again. If it goes in your body, what?
So it goes into the why plant-based, why diet first, because it's something you cannot get rid of. Once it's in there, it's in there.
That's it.
Once you don't like the dress you bought from, let's say, TJ Maxx or whatever, you can go and return it. Food, you cannot return it. We just say, I put it out after everything else is processed, right? That's just the way. Yeah, that's just the way
you put out all the toxins in yourself.
Yeah. So plant-based, that is, for me, plants are the only source of food that nature provides us, not only for nourishment, not only to sustain our activities, but also to heal. And we see that, in the phytochemicals. Phyto means plants, chemicals, only animals possess those chemicals, and these are the antioxidants, right? And the minerals that you can get. You don't have to go to Walmart and buy this 10 bottles of supplements, right? For magnesium, for iron, for copper. No, that's all in the plant. Plants are pre-packed. Although I teach my patients to read the label and understand what's in the ingredients, I'd say, guess what? If you go straight to the produce section, you don't have to bother looking at the label, because you can't find any label in those apples, in the
foods. Yeah,
these are pre-packed with everything that you need. So for me, it makes sense to go plant-based because they possess the healing power of nature. And as much as if animals heal themselves from eating plants, and these are grazing animals, we are animals too, right? Can take advantage of that.
Jackie, I really want to hear you say again about that. Where is it natural in nature to eat that amount of organ meat? Because I just want to address it, because that's where a lot of people are right now, right? They're following trends instead of reading the data, right? So I would love to hear you speak on that if you don't mind. Put you on the spot.
I'm just wondering, like, before all this technology, where was our ancestors going and getting these capsules of organ meat? Like, where biologically are we designed to be hunters and carnivores? Like, I'm going to bounce off of what Dr. Adelita said about really we're animals and we live in artificial environments. And so we have to adapt as animals. And we do this when we see our pets. We do this in zoos. We do this in circuses. We take animals out of their natural environment and then they have to adapt. And we see them stressed. We see the food that they're eating. We see even in areas now where people have been encroaching into natural environments, that now we have the animals that live in natural environments that are now eating out of the dumpsters, having the same diseases as humans. We have monkeys now having atherosclerosis.
Oh my
We
God.
like, so
Crazy.
it's all evidence, and it's all about what is natural. What is our natural way of engaging food? What is food for us? I mean, look at our hands. We're meant to grab vegetation. We're not meant to hunt and hide and pounce and rip. We're meant to dig and we're meant to forage. Like that's natural. And we just start looking at ourselves like, what will we be outside of this artificial environment? How do we function? And watch children. They'll tell us all the time. Just put a child with a bunny rabbit and an apple and watch the child want to smooch all over the baby and eat the apple. Like just let's really just start remembering what it truly is to be a human being. And I'm all about re-indigenization. And that's a whole other conversation. If we start going where our ancestors truly engaged the earth, where our ancestors truly engaged what they thought as food. And I love one of the things that we always tell people is like, listen, if my grandmother doesn't recognize an ingredient, it's not food. It's not food. And I also want to share about the evidence. My evidence of my own life. I reversed my type 2 diabetes. I reversed my hypertension with an arrhythmia. I reversed my gastric reflux. I reversed my restless leg syndrome, a somatic disorder. My son had a hole in his heart, and within a year, it reversed. He did not require open heart surgery. He had brain damage that started reversing. I mean, these are the profound shifts that we can make, and not just going vegan, but really seeing food as medicine. Whole plant foods, taking it out of the ground, the bounty of Mother Earth that gives us the medicine. If we engage that with honor and respect and see it that way, the healing, that the potential that we have inside of us, if we just remember what it is to be natural. And that's part of it, or what we see as food.
I love it.
Okay. Nicova, stuck then?
I mean, I think we covered a lot, but and I thought about what did I want to say, and I think the main thing here is that everybody in this panel has reversed at least one chronic disease, and plant-based diet is the only diet that's been clinically shown to reverse so many different chronic diseases. That prevention's one thing, but actually like reversing is, I mean, the things that are literally on the top 10 list of killing Americans. Changing your diet can heal that. That's something no surgery can do, no medication, no injection, no topical ointment, none of that. And it's really not so much that the food has healing properties per se. Your body has the ability to heal itself.
Boom.
It's just providing it the optimal conditions to do so.
Optimal.
And just like if you put the right kind of fuel in your car, it's going to function the best. Well, you put the right kind of food in your body, it's going to function at its best. And people are so used to eating a standard American diet, getting standard American results, that they don't even realize what's possible. They think that just like, amputating your toes at 62 because you have diabetes is normal because like Uncle Tommy had it too, and
it's normal. I'm old, my back hurts. It's normal. I'm on. Well, I gotta get my colonoscopy. It's normal. I gotta, I'm on heart medication. Because I'm over 40 or I'm over, and it's. The truth is that, and that Dr. Ben has so many good burns. I work with him. He's in my office. It's wonderful. But he has so many good burns. And he said one day, I was talking about like my son, his sizes run small, like he's slim. He's like, this country's made for fat people. All right. But it's kind of true, right? We're like, oh yeah, like level size. Yes, there's different sizes, but also like being like really like overweight and like tired, fatigue is not normal. We don't want you to accept this. I want you to love yourself. Yes, love yourself, but love yourself enough to know like that is not normal.
It's common, but common doesn't make it normal.
Common doesn't mean
it's
normal. And
it's typical. It's not what normal is.
It's
That's
not normal. Here's the with the whole meat thing, going back to our ancestors. And I'd be remiss if I didn't address that they're the Hadza tribe, because they've been well researched, because they're one of the few tribes that is today still untouched by Western society. So they still hunt and gather, but again, they don't have weapons. They're living off of the earth. Okay, so it's a big difference. So their diet is mostly plants. So people are like, oh yeah, but they eat some meat. You're right, they're not 100% plant-based. But even with these blue zones, they're not 100% plant-based either. Their diet is mostly plants. When we say mostly, I mean mostly. I don't mean like even meat. I say 2-3 times a week. Like that's still a lot for your life. For how long, if you're living forever, there's a biological normal for every species on the planet. Okay, if you feed cows corn, what happens to the cows? They get infections. That's why there's a hole. You ever seen those videos? You can look up hole in cow's stomach right now on YouTube, and it's totally normal. Factory farm raised cows. There's a hole, and the farmer has a glove on. It's a hole that stays there. Like there's a little ring, and they like open it up, and they go in and they pull this stuff out because they get sick. Did you know when they feed cows their natural diet of hay and grass, they're fine and they don't get sick?
They don't need a bunch of antibiotics.
And they don't need a bunch of antibiotics. There's a biological normal for every species. So again, if you think meat is the way, you go for it. And you tell me your skin doesn't start breaking out, your mental clarity doesn't drop. But most of all, how often are you pooping? Because there is no way you are having normal, healthy bowel movements on a diet heavy meat. There is no way it's happening. There's no way.
Talking about normal, I think that's kind of that's a number that keeps changing. Like for example, American Heart Association. One time I checked the website. It says every 40 seconds, an American will have a heart attack. Every 40 seconds.
Crazy.
I mean, okay,
Yeah.
so is that going to be our standard normal?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Can you imagine what's going to happen? Half a decade from now, is it like every 20 seconds, every 10 seconds, every
Yes.
second? Right.
And
So there is this, we have to realize that there is this infinite, like we are in a spectrum,
Right.
and we are like moving towards that direction. American Stroke Association said every 2 minutes, a diabetic is hospitalized for a stroke.
Crazy.
Mhm. And the sad thing is, most of these people don't even know they have diabetes. And we do see that, in the
Yep.
emergency room, they were surprised when we tell them, your blood sugar is very high. Like, I didn't know I have diabetes.
Oh my God.
It's the stroke that brought them to the hospital, right?
Jeez.
Statistics.
Yeah.
30.3 million Americans are now diabetic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the sad thing is that 1/3 of those didn't even know they have
Yep.
diabetes.
That's it. Yeah. I was gonna say there's numbers on
And
that.
diabetes,
It's
stroke,
crazy.
heart attack, we're talking, these are in the top 10.
Killers. Would you agree too when you talk about these ranges, right? Like it's a joke, but like the sizes are made for and we're made for unhealthy people, you could say, right? But it's like, would you agree that's why it's so important for me to find a doctor to refer to my clients to that's educated on this. If your doctor's telling you anything about protein ever, then I wouldn't listen to their nutrition advice. I'm not saying they can't help you with anything, but I'm not kidding, because like she said, these reference numbers are changing. Do you know what that means? You know what that means. What that means is you can take your labs to this doctor over here who's allopathic, who's just planned is going to put you on pills, and they might give you different summary. They might give you a different diagnosis, right? The diagnosis is the same because it's based on numbers, right? But my point is your A1C, which is how you measure the sugar in your blood to see if you have diabetes, right? Or if you're pre-diabetic, the reference numbers are different. Meaning, if you're above or below a certain number, they're going to be like, okay, do something now or don't do something. But if you go to a naturopath or someone who's educated on, the path of disease reversal, like any of us up here, right? Then we're going to see that number climbing before it gets to here.
Yeah.
Down here, we're going to be like, yo, let's start, you know what I mean? Your numbers climbing. Okay. So these reference numbers are really important. If you take it to any doctor, like, oh, I'm going to my checkup. I'm like, well, are you going to just your regular family physician? Do they know about nutrition? Are they a naturopath? And all naturopaths, and I've met a lot of naturopaths and I know more about disease reversal than, and I'm not saying that too my horn, but it's the truth. It's not, unless you experienced your own story and you really like taken it upon yourself, you have to go outside of these institutions to really get this information. They ain't teaching us. The government is funding all these places. You know what I'm saying?
I want to point out, for example, the cholesterol. So when patients come to me and we review the results, previously, I didn't order. So let's say cholesterol. Well, if you look at the cholesterol test, they put it normal, like below 100. It's normal. Tell them like, okay, I've got to let you know that this is not the normal. When we talk about normal, you want to you want to reverse your heart disease, right? Well, what we know is that we got to get it down below 70.
Yep.
That's what this, because the 100 is like set by, group of people that have reviewed the different resources that are just aligning to their intention. But if you look at the other data, if you want reversal, it's going to be below 70, and not just one time test. We've got to sustain that less than
Exactly.
70, you know, because
Exactly.
you didn't come to this point in just overnight. So,
Yep.
you know, this is that time, like your eyes open, like, can I really get my cholesterol from 200 to less than 70? I was like, yes, look at this result, right? Look at this results that my kids get. So it's like, I get it. You know, there is a misinformation, and that also kind of drop into the medical community, but also to not to defend myself in the medical community. We also are kind of part of that system that's broken, and we were there to be trained, right? And so if we didn't get the education, that whose fault is that, right?
Not
So-
yours.
Not mine,
It's the
but
system. No, you've done the work. You know what I mean? You experienced it, and that's all it takes, right? That's what it takes for most of us. That's what it's like. My dad almost died, 69. Changed his diet.
I want to add that if you are going to any kind of allopathic physician, and you can't find a naturopath, please find a lifestyle medicine physician.
At least.
A lifestyle medicine physician that really honors the 6 pillars of health, which is a plant-centric lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
It really is imperative that you find a lifestyle medicine physician. You can go to lifestylemedicine.org, and there's just a search. You put in your zip code, and you can find physicians. And here in Phoenix, that's how I connected with Dr. Lolita, my good friend. And there's a lot of physicians that are taking that position and really saying, you know, I did this because I wanted to help people. I did this because I wanted to help heal people. And all I'm doing is just figuring out what medicines to prolong their long suicide. Because that's what we're on. And I knew I was on the long suicide, and I was taking my children with me. So if we can find healers in the community that are waking up and taking that extra step, going and educating themselves for a lot of time on their own dime, because they're committed to help. Find the healers in the community and help. And they will bring you that evidence, and they will bring you that education, also mentorship. And that's what I do also is mentorship, because this is not easy. Like these foods are highly addictive foods. So we have to really start thinking about like those processed foods and what they're doing to our lives, and start surrounding ourselves with that education and that support system to help us transition through.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say, just because a doctor's naturopathic doesn't mean they're training plant-based nutrition.
Very, very true.
And like if you look at what's taught in the naturopathic schools, it's often not that. So I think that's a better resource. Plantbaseddoctors.org is another one.
Even though the president of SCNM is plant-based, but again, the school is accredited and funded by the government, so they can't really teach that.
And then they have a lot of pharma funding, training, everything.
Now.
So
We need a panel discussion just
Man. I mean, it's really important, and just being educated, because and two, we talk about the processed foods, like just the word vegan, being plant-based, right? It doesn't mean it's healthy, right? So we have processed foods too. Is it a lesser evil? Is it less bad for you? For sure. Most of it. Yeah, I would say. Would you guys agree? Yeah, right. But we don't want that to be the basis of your diet, right? You still need whole foods, right? You still need whole foods, fresh, unprocessed, uncooked foods in your diet to get that maximum nutrition.
Wow. That was a big one. Okay. So there's an 80% rule in the blue zones. The longest lived people have strategies to keep themselves from overeating. Specifically, some of the Okinawans stop eating when they're 80% full. So the question on this is, what can you share about moderation and mindfulness around eating?
I guess I have a different opinion on this. I think if you're eating the right foods and you're not like seasoning them with oils, salts, sweeteners, that you'll be full when it's time. These foods have fiber in them. Like your body is not designed to trick you and overeat. artificial processed foods are designed to trick you into overeating. That's like literally what they're designed to. The commercial literally says, "Bet you can't just eat one," right? I think if you're truly eating whole plant foods, there's no reason to like moderate your consumption. Like you're hungry for a reason. These things are like, you should be eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. Most people, because they've been eating a standard American diet and eating all these hyper palatable foods that are loaded with, artificial sweeteners, salt, seasonings that like, because actual corn on its own, like processed corn in powder form, like doesn't have any taste. Processed wheat, like doesn't have any taste. Like they got to add things to it to make you want to eat it, and they add a ton of it, and then but like the people are so used to eating that they have no sense of when they're hungry or they're full. They're just like, as Louis C.K. says, I stop when I hate myself. Right? I love so if you are eating actual whole plant foods, like you should be listening to your body and when you're hungry and stop when you're not, and not trying to like do any sort of gymnastics with that. Like same with like the intermittent fasting. Like you don't need to be intermittent fasting if you're like you don't need to
if you don't feel good. No, you shouldn't be restricting. I agree 1,000%.
Like if you're not hungry, like I really haven't eaten much today because I haven't been hungry, but like I'm not like doing it on purpose to try to like follow some kind of
Right. There's a ton of benefits to fasting, and so I think that's what you're speaking to. So I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? But if you are restricting yourself, that's different. I fast every day. We all fast every day. He fasts every day without wanting to. When you're asleep, you're fasting. That's why you get that's what your fasting blood sugar is. It's your blood sugar in a fasting state because you haven't eaten yet, right? That's what the term break fast means. It came from the fact that you're breaking your fast. So there's a ton of benefits to it. But if you're deliberately fasting on a clock, no bueno, dog. No bueno. Listen to your body. And I've done that. Again, I've learned from my mistakes. I intermittently fast. I still do, but I've learned to prepare. I know if I'm doing a lecture, I'm expending more energy. I'm going to need to break my fast sooner. Sometimes I break my fast at 1 o'clock. Sometimes I break my fast at 11. That's okay. Sometimes if you're hungry at 10, eat when you're hungry. Don't when you're not. I love that so much.
I too would just say it really is regaining a healthy relationship with your body and listening to your body. And what I've come across, there's been a lot of individuals that have a distorted relationship with food. And so it becomes a mental health issue, and they take that and transition it into veganism or into plant-based and say they don't address that core issue of that relationship with food. And so we have to be that's where I say the mindfulness, and we have to be really understanding and say, why am I choosing this behavior? Why am I choosing that behavior? Journaling with one of my teachers, Bresman Menikin, he taught soul scribing. Talk about that. If you're challenged, start writing it out. Start having that conversation with yourself and your body and food, and really start analyzing like, what is this? Because food is our friend. Food is our nourishment. Food is Mother Nature. Food is like love. And so if we're not having that relationship, we're like, I'm going to get as much love as I want, and then I'm going to put it down, and it's going to be great, and I'm going to pick it up later. And when I need a hug, I need a hug. I need an apple, I need an apple, So it's like that loving relationship. What is food? Let's really analyze what it is. Food, and again, I love it. Is that we look at food as like, is this going to benefit me? Is this going to charge me? Is this going to give me vitality, or is this going to continue to feed my disease and make me feel better, make me not think about my issues at the moment?
I also want to say, I agree with Dr. Ben. In my mind, it's thinking, why would I moderate something that is good?
Yes.
Right. If I know 100% that what I'm eating is going to fuel me, it's going to charge me, it's going to give me the vitality, and I want to do more for that day, why would I moderate? I think the moderation word would be more applicable in a scenario where wink, 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 when it's not the right fuel. That's why you have to be mindful not to overeat.
Right.
But if I am looking at a plate that is going to load me with healing, right, with energy, I'm not going to moderate. I'm not even going to give it or share it, right? I'm not going to moderate. I do want to say though that for my patients who are on medications, for example, diabetes, 4 different kinds of medications and insulin, and I do use that, instill the moderation in terms of what are the specific plant-based foods that we need to moderate on. But I'm not telling you to stop just because they are, very sweet or high on this and that, because guess what? You're getting also the other nutrients in it that we need for healing. So yes, I do the moderation for select group of patients, because what we are doing, our goal is gonna get off the medication.
Right.
So, but otherwise, if it's just for regular, sustainability and no health issues underlying, maybe just want to lose weight, that's very common, just want to lose weight. Oh my gosh, don't moderate. Don't moderate on plants, right? But if there are pre-existing medical conditions, then depending on the person's tendency, the emotional eating underlying that. So I do a lot of exploration. I said, we're not going to be talking about food here, just so you know. We're going to be digging deeper into your lifestyle. You're going to tell me about this stuff, because it is a customizable program, but I feel it's less complex. Plant-based nutrition or eating lifestyle is less complex than the others. For example, we don't count calories.
Oh,
No,
never.
right?
Never.
Yes. No, never.
There's no reason.
We're going to be counting calories. So you're diabetic, you might have been told to, no more than this, blah, blah, blah. And no, we're not going to do that. We're going to focus on the quality of food that you have in front of you, right? And then what's going on here while you're facing that plate of food. So,
and the density receptors, right? What is it? There's 2 receptors. They break it down in forks over knives, right? There's one that tells your stomach you're full, and one that you have. Thank you. And then there's the nutrition, right? So thank you. That's what I wanted, right? I was like, where's the chemical? That's a big word. So what's great about that is too, and it's really funny, I saw this in the raw community when I started going to like raw vegan potlucks. A lot of raw, the more you cook your food, the more nutrition you lose. And you can kind of see that. I can give you the science behind it, but you can see it for yourself, right? You take a piece of broccoli and it's bright and green, and you can cook it till it's brown. You can see you lost something, at least chlorophyll, at least you lost that, right? So we can say that. So raw food tends to be more nutritious, right? And so if you have any like nut pates or nut burgers or anything like that, you have this big plate full of food, and you see people coming new into like a raw potluck, and they're like, they're not going to finish all that. You can't overeat that stuff. Your body, it's dense. Remember when you were 22 and you were wasted and you could just eat a whole pizza? That's because there was no nutrition in it. So your body's like, keep it coming. Keep it coming. I remember being hammered at like 21, 22, and I would eat like 10 Del Taco chicken tacos. I was like, give me 10. They're getting like 50. Everyone's eating like, it's great. Yeah, I'm alive. It's like, oh my God. It was crazy, man. That was my thing. But it's like, there's no nutrition in that, right? So your body's like, keep it coming. Yes. But if you have, if it's nutrition, it fills you up. It's hard to overeat. You can force yourself to. Yeah, that's when you get, you'll get a little acid. You'll get a little acid reflux. There's not like stomach acid to digest what's in your gut. So, you can overeat on a healthy food, but it's much harder to do. Yeah, it's much harder to do.
Oh boy. Well, let's see. What time are we at? We've got 20 minutes left. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay. And I've got another question. So another big practice of the Blue Zones is having connections. Loved ones first. Centenarians spend a lot of time and effort working on their relationships with their spouses and their children. In the Blue Zone regions, they're more likely to keep children close by because the children value the wisdom of the parents and the grandparents. This is something that our American culture just does not see. And honestly, this is a white practice my culture puts our old people in old folks' homes, and we don't honor them. We don't respect them. We don't ask for their wisdom. We lock them up until they die. It's horrible. So, how do you think we can change this part of our culture? What can we do to incorporate our elders back into the fold so that we can gain wisdom?
Yeah, it's the same answer that we've all been talking about this whole time. The reason we're putting them in holes is out of necessity, not desire. They're unhealthy and dying and sick because of the foods that we're eating.
They're dying on a very long timeline.
Yep.
So the medical system is really good at keeping them at this minimum level of health where they can be on the maximum number of medications and output the maximum number of Medicare dollars into the system's pocket. So like at the cost of their health, they're extricating all this money out of them. It's better to keep them sick than dead, but it's definitely no money to keep them healthy.
Yep.
So I think the best thing we can do is like just create, be healthier people and hope it rubs off. I mean, it's like I'm 40. My parents still think like don't want to take nutritional advice from me. They think I'm still 7. Ben needs a knowing thing. But yeah, I think the best way we can do it is take better care of them before they get that old and they degenerate, and then they'll still be able to be independent. We'll have to have the conversation
Like
about like, do we got to put dad, mom in the home?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I agree. I think the best thing we can do for our communities, the best thing we can do for children. All right, let me just, on the spiritual lens again, children and elders are closest to source energy. And if we don't have the elders that are understanding that they go back to source to bring all of the light and wisdom and knowledge that they've acquired in this lifetime to go back to the whole and contribute and upgrade and elevate, those babies are coming back from that. They're coming back into this earth and bringing that with them. So we have to bridge our elders together with our babies and share that knowledge and that wisdom. Everything that we described is all colonialism. This is all colonialism. This is not how people naturally treat each other in family circles. Especially I identify as an Indigenous woman. I was raised multi-generationally, and I was raised in the hood. And we still kept that. We still kept that essence of how we grew up when my family was still in the island of Boriken, when there was multi-generational people all in one home. I don't know what it's like not to grow up with great-grandparents. I don't know what it's like not to have uncles there to just kind of bestow these knowledge and wisdom. And now we're so siloed. We're not moms. I'm speaking to moms. We're not meant to do this by ourselves.
Oh my God, pray, say it again.
We are not meant to mother our children by ourselves. We are community. We are a sisterhood. We are there to nourish and nurture one another, to share our gifts with one another's babies. We're there to say, Mom, it's time for you to take a break. We got this. We'll do this. We'll do this. That's natural. It's not meant for our babies to be in these artificial environments, sitting still all day, pouring and programming them. That's unnatural.
From their mother for 6 weeks and it's time to go back to work.
Honestly, all of it is absurd. And I have to say, when my firstborn, 4 weeks, I was back at work.
Oh my God.
4 weeks and taking him with me, nursing him.
Thinking about it.
No, that was my oldest. Yeah. Luckily, with the twins, I was able to be home. But with my firstborn, it was like
that's what's expected.
Yeah, that's what's expected. And it was like, how do I nurse? How do I commute? How do I make sure my baby's
and then your milk dries up because you don't have that.
And you know what?
Because it's not normal.
I had elders. I had elders around me that were like, okay, this is what you do when your milk slows down. This is what you do. But at the same time, it was like, wow, I didn't realize how these systems had me in a situation where this stress and me trying to do it right. And I didn't have sisters because then I was scared of like, well, she's doing it perfect or she's doing it right. I'm going to be judged. So it's like we really have to start understanding that it's important that we have family systems, multi-generational systems, and we honor elder wisdom. My vision for the world is that we have children just learning naturally with facilitators providing the tools and the resources and the opportunities for our children to show their inclination of what they're here to do, their purpose. Because we can find it, because if we prevent childhood trauma, we will spend the rest of our lives healthy and not reversing all that drama that shows up later, honestly. So we need that elder wisdom. And again, healthy, heal our trauma. Because let me tell you something, we have plenty of olders in
Mm.
communities.
Mhm.
We don't have enough elders. So this generation, be mindful that the babies that are born are gonna need us for the rest of their lives. It's on us to heal and be healthy so we can be there and forgive our elders that didn't have an opportunity to become elders and release them and love on them, but also take the mental and say, yeah, but I can do it better. I can be that elder.
Beautiful.
I like that you talked about kids. 'Cause I have twin boys, and when we changed 5 years ago, they had no choice. I didn't give them any choice.
Mine either.
Like if I got diabetic, and my husband diabetic, hypertensive, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, gouty arthritis, asthma, name it. I got bloated. I said we're just 37 years old, and we're exposed to this Centered American diet maybe 10 years. Last 10 years. These boys, I exposed them way too
Already.
early, and if I don't cut that,
Now,
chase, I'm not going to be surprised they're going to get all these
Of
diseases
course.
we have.
In
And
their
they're
20s.
teens.
Yeah,
They're
their 20s,
teens.
exactly.
I mean, if you understand, and we understand that because I'm a doctor, so I understand how this disease develops, but I wasn't able to connect that with food and lifestyle. But now that I know, right, this has to stop. So I think that, and now they're on board, of course. But I think that if we think about our elders, we cannot help but think about our kids too. Because if we put our parents or grandparents in a nursing home out of necessity, our kids are gonna put us in a nursing home out of necessity, right? And you know how that feels. You know how that feels. And until you get into the situation, time may be too late for us, right? So I would say, start with our kids and then forgive ourselves, forgive ourselves that we may not have time to do that with our parents or grandparents, but as long as they're still breathing, I think there's time.
Thank you for saying that, because that breaks my heart. Seeing the elders and they're struggling, they're suffering, and it's like we didn't know, but now we know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, now that we know, what do we do? And that's what I like to tell our clients. Doesn't matter how we got here, but now that you know, what do we do? Let's just go. What we know, let's move forward.
But we have to start with the kids because it's hard. It's hard. It's emotional. It's hard to reach your family that doesn't want to be helped. They're grown. I can't make my 6-year-old listen to me sometimes. Yeah, I can make my 74-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like it's real. It's like you can very easily get brainwashed and convinced this other ways. It's what you've been taught your whole life. So, my first line of defense is like, not defense, my first approach is like compassion and empathy. Yes. You were not better than nobody. We was right there. I was right there with you. So like I acknowledge, I tell my clients, it's not your fault that you are here. You have no idea. Your doctors, your teachers, your parents didn't know any of this and still don't. Right. So it is not your fault that you are here. And so,
It's
I
be your fault.
Yeah.
If you continue
If you keep going after
even
you
if
know.
already know.
Yeah.
That's what when I explain this to my kids, because I have to explain to them why we're getting rid of that and we're getting in this new food,
right.
And so they said, my mom has been diabetic for 25 years on insulin. And I was actually the person who told them, once you're on insulin, forever be on insulin. Then I was in medical school. But now my mom is off insulin. 12 medications. So 12 prescription medications are down to 3, right? In just less than a year. And so I told my boys about this and like, listen, grandma got sick with diabetes at her, 40s. Mommy's sick with diabetes at 30s. They're gonna get sick at teens, And so my son is so clever. He said, well, if this is the deal, then why did grandma not tell you, right? And, warn you. And I said, well, grandma didn't know that.
Yeah.
And now that I know, I'm not gonna let this happen to you.
Stop that cycle.
So then the child got it. I said, like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, we're learning because we want to grow. We want to, we want to explore, we want to experience. Plus, it doesn't make sense to learn something so vital and not apply it,
Mhm.
right? So it takes, I know it takes amount of courage, but
Yeah.
you got just to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So, and I know that with a lot of older people here, because I'm giving lectures to adult communities and even in assisted living.
Awesome.
I see the frustration, like for these people who
Or
are
there.
residents
Yeah.
in a box type facility.
Yeah.
I was talking an hour about this blah blah, and they come to me and said, "We believe you,
But
but,"
we do with this food that they're giving us.
Correct.
We can't control it.
and I was just quiet. Just like, I didn't realize, that's the system here. I'm sorry, so then like we come here at the dining room for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're served.
Right. That's it.
And that's
We
something
need
I
to, we need
cannot
to,
change, but it just breaks my heart. And these people are eventually going to go to the nursing home,
yeah.
and then to the more
Hospice,
deteriorating
yeah.
facility. I'm like, we're setting them up for
It's prison food. It's
It's
prison
total
food.
it's canned, old, expired. Like my grandma just passed of Alzheimer's. And I mean, completely preventable, also reversible, guys. And I mean, she probably hasn't had anything fresh in years. I'm not even kidding. She passed because she hit her head. She fell down and hit her head and just didn't wake up. I wasn't surprised. I was happy. She was suffering. I was not happy, but honestly, like you know what I mean? Yeah, it was like for her to go like in her sleep, good, like a quick knockout, good, because she was miserable. She was miserable. I mean, it's awful to watch them deteriorate like that. But yeah, it's like we need an organization to go into these facilities, and that's what we need, and provide just juices and smoothies. That's it. We can do it cheap. I'm telling you, just organic juices or smoothies. Like that's what we need to do. I'm telling you, man, because it's sad. It's like, what can we do? What can we do there?
And because about 95% of my patients are senior citizens.
Wow.
So I'm learning so much, from how desperate they want to be healthy. And I realized that most of them are really going to say, you know what, if I'm going to be provided with this, now that I'm getting it, but I don't have the physical ability, right, already. And then I am bound with this family culture. And so there are a lot of factors, but it breaks my heart to see them. Like they really don't want to go yet. They really don't want to die yet. They really don't want to suffer more. But they are, they are in shackles. And I was just there sitting and staring and like, okay. And then Dr. Ham is in my room. I just have a little fridge, right? And a small microwave. Like, okay, but I can see you can walk that fast. Pretty much, I know you can cook something simple, right? But we don't have a stove in the room, right? We're not allowed.
Wow.
Right. So like
That's crazy.
Okay, no, this is a bigger problem.
Oh my God.
So the execution is I think that there's so much deprived. And we kind of generalize that most people have given up on themselves, but not really.
That's why I think conversations like this and panel discussions like this are so important, because it does take a community and it takes all of us.
Yeah.
So if you're hearing this and you're like, oh, I have an idea. Oh, I know someone, like reach out. Like this is what we need to do to connect. We all need to bring our talents, our skills, our experiences, and our intentions together. No one can do this by ourselves. Everyone needs to activate for many, 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 many reasons for what's going on in this zeitgeist and the current culture and climate. But if you hear this and you have an idea, please be courageous, stand up, be your activist self, contribute, even if it's just something that you're like, I don't know, this sounds far-fetched. We want to hear it. Let's work together, because there's people that are vulnerable that really do need us to stand up and remember them.
Beautiful. Okay. Wow. We're 155, ladies. Okay. Well, so the other tenets of the Blue Zone's lifestyle practices are belonging, having a faith-based community, spiritual practices, and having a right tribe. So the community that you spend time with, they say health behaviors are contagious. So let's close on those concepts. I have a question here. So how does having strong spiritual belief relate to a healthy lifestyle? And what is it about having community that improves your health?
Yeah. I'll let you speak on the spiritual side of it. My spiritual journey was definitely like in reverse. Raw food really brought me back into spirituality. I was atheist for many years. I've always been a why kid. I'm very right brain. I'm very logic brain. I'm very much like, you can't just tell me something and I just believe you. I'm like, nah, show me the data. Like, I want to see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've always been that way. And so I remember, I was going to all these raw food lectures, people like reversing all these irreversible diseases, right? Diverticulitis, cancer, tuberculosis, terminally ill, cured, paralysis, cured, paralysis, pharmaceutically induced paralysis, injury induced paralysis, cured with raw food, right? So they kept bringing up God. And I remember going and sitting at these lectures. I'm like, why are they talking about God? I ain't trying to hear this. I was like, I'm trying to learn how to reverse disease. Why they keep talking about God? But you can't talk about it without it, right? So again, whatever your beliefs are, divine, God, source, universe, evolution, no matter what way you look at it, you can look at the physical part, which is you are consuming physical trauma when you're eating dead animals, because that's what they actually are. We can call them pork, chicken, and turkey, but it's actually a rotting carcass, which is why it needs to be refrigerated. Okay. So there's physical trauma. There's biological things that are going to happen in your physical body. So cortisol, adrenaline, and you can name even more, right? So you're physically consuming trauma. Okay. Let's take out the physical side. Okay. Spiritually, they're afraid. They're terrified. They're traumatized. So you're consuming trauma on a spiritual level. Let's talk about vibrational. Okay. Well, the death is lowest vibration, right? Death, dead, right? Stuff is dead. It's going to be in the ground, right? Life, things are growing. They're going towards the sun. So you have that energetic level too. You can look at dead food as processed food too. Cheetos, there's no life force. There's no chi, there's no energy, right? So if you can look at it in all those ways, as far as the spiritual side and why that's important. As far as the community side, the community saved my life. I was a bartender. Like I said, I was slanging cheese curds. It failed. I was being ridiculed. I went to work. I had all my kombucha bottles filled. I was doing a juice fast. So I filled all my kombucha bottles with juice that I juiced in my lunchbox. And they're like, somebody said something about a headache. And I was like, bananas are good. They're like, well, if you get a headache, what are you going to do? Take an aspirin or eat a banana? Like making fun of me. They're like popping pills. I was like, so I felt really isolated and alone. And I'll be honest, I still feel that way sometimes about some things. But so that community part is going to be really important. And, the easiest way, again, is really going to be, starting with yourself, changing that, because then your circle is going to change, right? It's going to evolve. I haven't made a conscious decision. Okay. People like right? Yeah, it's just evolved. Your vibration, right? And I'm attracting other people on my own mindset. But there's does come a point.
Yeah.
Going through that transition, they keep going back to the toxic habits. She's upset, and then my one of my closest friends goes and drinks, and then does drugs, and then is like suicidal, and it's a disaster. And I'm like, baby, what are we gonna do? Like, what's gonna be different this next time? It's like you got to have that community. So yeah, that community is really important.
And you said everything absolutely beautifully, sister. I think we have to really start understanding that we are quantum beings. We are multidimensional, interdimensional beings. We are here in this one lifetime, this one iteration. We've been here many, many times before. We will be here many, many times again. And quantum physics, quantum mechanics, it proves all of that. And so when we bring that presence and that understanding into our lives and say, we are both the particle and the wave. And we can work through this life in this third dimension through this particle. We can do it. We can work hard. Or we can follow the spiritual path and ascent. We can elevate. We can evolve. We can infuse consciousness into a fractal and literally change that fractal. We can change destiny by free will into choice, and we can create lives for ourselves. That's the spiritual lens. That's the spiritual path, and that is true. And we can have plenty of conversations in quantum physics, and that just proves it all. But at the core of it, we are energetic beings, and we require to be around the frequencies that elevate us and sustain us and support us. And it's just true. As you heal, people, relationships, places will fall away. People are on their own path, and what we need to do is understand that we need to we need to gather around us reflections, people that are going to affirm us, people that are going to let us know that I know that's a little fringe, I know that's a little different, but I see you. And that's really important when we're on this path, that we have affirmations around us that say, I see you, I hear you, you are valid, you are worthy. And when we go, and it's more and more lonely, like Elizabeth was saying, it is lonely. When you go and you step out of everything, family is going to fall away, friends are going to fall away, people are, and I'm sorry, there's haters. And when you are not as stressed and you are living good, there's going to be people that are going to want to support you, want to be like, oh my God, what are you doing? I want to know. People are going to be like, yeah, you're just too happy. It's just too much for me. And you activate people. So yeah, work on yourself, surround yourself with people that are going to be affirming and support your growth, support your healing. It's really, really important to be around like-minded and like-hearted people and bring that compassion in without judgment. Use discernment. You know, let's not judge people because they're not doing what we're doing. Let's just use discernment. Is this relationship helpful? Do I feel good about myself? Do I feel nourished? Or do I feel depleted? Do I feel less every time I'm with this person? It's the same thing with our choices. Is this something that's going to feed me and make me feel healthy? Or is this something that's extracted and taken away from my well-being? And that's how we discern. And then we release people to their own path, because it's arrogant to think that we can fix people. We're not here to fix anybody. We're here to share and reflect to you the healing that can happen and bring those resources and support to you. And that's why it's important that you have people that are going to affirm that, because we're all on our healing journeys. You know, I am not arrogant to think that I made it. Shoot, I know that I've gotten this much of healing. I can't even imagine what's coming, but I'm ready. And I know that I surround myself with people that when I do fall, that I trust. That I trust that I can lean on, that I trust that are going to be there to support me, that I don't have to hide, that I don't have to mask, that I can dance with my shadow. And I've got people there that are going to support and love on me.
Yep. Closing thoughts.
Oh, gosh, those are amazing.
Pretty powerful, huh?
If I were to connect spiritual and community, I think that's pretty much easy if I think of it in a concept of being spiritual also means that supports you, that believes you, and that wants to bring out the best in you. So my parting word will be, and this is not my line, I just read it somewhere, you know, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Well, if you're hanging out with 10 people, then make it 10, right? You are the average of the people you hang out with.
Yeah.
Because whether you like it or not, sometimes you say, oh, well, we're just really talking about some petty things. I don't think they're going to impact me at all. But, well, not true, in my opinion, because when you go home, you know, this mind, it's crazy. It's very this mind can remember, you know, the things that were said, that were expressed. And even if you don't pay attention to that, it's like a cloud that just passed by you, even when you're taking a bath or something, right? And it may you decide to linger on that, in that space for way too long. You can't remove yourself out of that space. So as much as we are a guardian of the food that we're putting in our mouth, as much as we are the guardian of on the door of our mind, I think that we should also be the guardian of the boundary that we set ourselves.
Good, love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Okay. Any questions from the audience? Anyone out here have any questions for our panel? Awesome. Okay. Great. Well, thank you all so very much for participating in this panel discussion. Weird. It's like I'm looking up. I can't even look at the camera. I'm elated, ladies. This was awesome. Thank you so much. And we are going to pause for a moment. Stop the recording. It's all me. Okay. Awesome.
You could email your YouTube link to.
Oh yeah.
I didn't.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. I got it on my phone. That was really good. Yeah, that was a really awesome conversation. Well, thanks for sticking with us. Jimmy, I'm glad you're still here. We are doing some amazing things here, aren't we? So thank you all for joining us. I'm gonna log out of YouTube now. And before I go, if you'd like to join us at the Autumn Integrative Wellness Expo and Conference that is happening this week, please follow the links. I'm going to add the links into the YouTube channel, and then anyone that's interested, reach out to Stephanie Buckland. You can find me at stephaniebuckland.com. My information will be on the YouTube, and it'll also be all over the internet. So you can find me pretty much anywhere on the socials. I hope you all have a